Good Sunday morning. This is Pastor Diane of Midcoast Presbyterian Church, and we are gathered here once again for Sunday worship, where we lift up our praise, we lift up our prayers, and we join together for another encounter with the Holy Spirit. We always begin with some silence, as you have enjoyed just now. We do hope that this service will lift you up and challenge you at the same time. And so let's continue to prepare for worship as we listen to the prelude after I light the candle. The candle which reminds us of the presence of the Holy Spirit. Let us worship God together.
The first lesson is from the book of Matthew, chapter 17, verses 24 through 27, and is entitled, Jesus and the Temple Tax. When they reached Capernaum, the collectors of the temple tax came to Peter and said, "Does your teacher not pay the temple tax?" He said, "Yes, he does." And when he came home, Jesus spoke of it first, asking, "What do you think, Simon? From whom do kings of the earth take toll or tribute? From their children or from others?" When Peter said, "From others," Jesus said to him, "Then the children are free. However, so that we do not give offense to them, go to the sea and cast a hook. Take the first fish that comes up, and when you open its mouth, you will find a coin. Take that and give it to them for you and me." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
I was not so familiar with that story, that wonderful story of the magic fish, or so it sounds like. But thinking about Jesus, we know he didn't do magic tricks. And so he wouldn't have used his powers simply to come up with a coin to pay tax. I love how John Bell he opens it up to help us understand it better from the cultural perspective. And he suggests that instead, what is going on here is that Jesus is saying to Peter, all right, I know we have to come up with this money. So you go fishing and you'll pull up this wonderful big fish. And when you take it to market, you will sell it. And lo and behold, we'll have money to pay the taxes. So that's a much more practical way to consider it. And Jesus was always trying to empower us and enable us to come up with our own solutions. And so once again, he is helping Peter. So I was not very familiar with that story, and I have another one for you now. This is from Numbers, and this one I'm not so familiar with either. So I wanted to share it with you in this wonderful theme of holy humor. This is from the book of Numbers, from the 22nd chapter, and the Israelites have traveled to Moabite plains where they set up camp just across from the Jordan River east of Jericho. The Moabites are nervous about this, and they say to each other, the voracious horde, these Israelites will wipe us out without as much as a second thought. They'll devour us and move through our land as a herd of hungry cows mows a field. So they want to send for a messenger. They want to send for Balaam. And so the message that goes to Balaam is, there's a group of people who came from Egypt and who have settled right near me. They cover the land with their numbers. Come quickly and curse them. There's no other hope that I have of defeating so many of them and driving the rest away. They're too strong. But I know that whomever you bless is blessed, and whomever you curse is cursed. So he's looking for a curse to come to them. While Balaam was not an Israelite, he has a healthy respect for God. And so he at first says, I can't go. I can't say anything more than what the eternal one, my Lord, would say. But God came to Balaam in the night and spoke with him. And he said, if these men have indeed come to get you, go ahead, go with them, but do only what I tell you to do. So in the morning, Balaam got his donkey ready. He set out with the Moabite elders. Nevertheless, God was angry that Balaam was going. I'm sure I understand that. So he sent his own messenger as an adversary to stand in Balaam's way, blocking the prophet's path. Now Balaam was riding on his donkey, and he had two servants too. But it was the donkey who saw the Eternal's messenger standing in the road with a sword in his hand, drawn and ready. The donkey went off the road and into the field, and Balaam, not seeing the messenger as his donkey had, hit the beast to drive it back onto the road. But then the messenger of the Eternal stood in the narrow walkway separating two vineyards, and there was a wall on either side. Spooked by the Eternal's messenger, the donkey pressed herself against one of the walls, trapping Balaam's foot. Balaam hit her again. The Eternal's messenger got ahead of them again and faced them in a narrow spot where they had no way to avoid him. And this time, the donkey, seeing the Eternal's messenger, just lay down. And of course, Balaam, still sitting on top, was furious and beat the beast. But the Eternal One gave the donkey the ability to speak. And so the donkey to Balaam said, what have I done to you that you would hit me 3 times? Balaam said, you've made me look stupid, and if I had a sword, I'd have killed you by now. And the donkey said, aren't I the very same donkey you've always ridden? Have I ever been disloyal or hurt you? Well, after thinking, Balaam had to say no. At that point, the Eternal opened the eyes of Balaam to see his messenger standing in the road, sword drawn. Balaam bowed low to the ground, lying with his face in the dirt. And the messenger said this, why? Why were you so hard on your donkey, beating her these 3 times? I came here as an adversary against you because I do not approve of the direction you're taking in more ways than one. Your donkey did the right thing when she saw me and turned away all 3 times. This donkey saved your life. Perhaps I would have killed you on the spot and let her live. And Balaam said, I confess, I was wrong, but I didn't know you were there trying to block my way. Now, please, if you don't want me to go any farther, then let me go back home. Now the Eternal One's messenger said, no, go ahead with this Moabite escort, but only say what I tell you to say. And so Balaam traveled on with Balak's men. Honestly, never did I remember hearing that wonderful story of the talking donkey. It's a wonderful story. And we do not have full comprehension of Jewish humor enough to recognize sort of this back and forth and this exchange and this humbling of Balaam by his own donkey, and also having to remind Balaam not to be so quick of temper and to remember the loyalty of this wonderful donkey. Well, this morning, I wanted us to take some time to celebrate the resurrection, to celebrate the new life that God gives us. This has been a long and old tradition that was a day of celebrating God's last laugh. And it was actually forbidden for a little while there. I guess there was just too much festivity and frivolity. And I think we've often wrestled with this concept of Christianity and religious people as being somber and serious people, whereas God is constantly challenging us to laugh, and to laugh at ourselves especially. And there's a wonderful story of it where Balaam has to laugh at himself listening to his donkey. This past week, I attended online the Compassion, Peace, and Justice Days put on by the Presbyterian Advocacy Center. And the guest speaker was Carlos Carvalhos. And we heard him at Triennium, Tad and I did, many years ago. And Tad really liked him. And I did too. And I have followed periodically, and he has wonderful liturgical resources. Turns out now he's a worship professor at Union Theological School in New York City. Well, he is a fiery preacher, an amazing, amazing preacher. And he had us in the palm of his hand as he then laid out all that's going on in this world and the destruction of the earth. And it was quite mind-boggling. But he also warned us to be prepared, because the ridiculousness of it and the ridiculousness of his actions would become clear in the end. And so I believe it's the second day as he's unfolding even more about the God that we have had stolen from us. Toward the end of his preaching, he donned a hat. You have to imagine this bright yellow and red hat with a rooster on top of it. And he ducked his head down low enough so that it was just the rooster talking to us. He's talking about all these serious things, but you have to smile. You have to laugh. And more than anything, it's the wonderful reminder that we will not survive life if we do not learn how to laugh, if we don't learn how to find the joy to be found in life. I absolutely I will never forget that sermon, of course. And had I had the same hat, I would have put it on for all of you. And perhaps you'd never forget this sermon either. So, as God and I were working on the sermon, I tried to figure out how I was going to communicate this the best way to you. And truly, I've had to pull together some pictures instead, because these pictures will express it so much better. The pictures are paired with some wonderful quotes, and I hope that you will enjoy it. First, I want to share with you one of my favorite poems from a Persian Sufi poet. And it's just this wonderful, wonderful. Listen, This poem is called Laughter. What is laughter? What is laughter? It is God waking up. Oh, it is God waking up. It is the sun poking its sweet head out from behind a cloud that you have been carrying too long, veiling your eyes and heart. It is light breaking ground for a great structure that is your real body, your truth. It is happiness applauding itself and then taking flight to embrace everyone and everything in this world. Laughter is the pole star held in the sky by our beloved who eternally says, yes, dear ones, come this way. Come this way toward me and love. Come with your tender mouths moving and your beautiful tongues conducting songs, and with your movements, your magic movements of hands and feet and glands and cells, dancing. Know that to God's eye, all movement is a wondrous language, and music, such exquisite wild music. Oh, what is laughter, Hafiz? What is this precious love and laughter budding in our hearts? It is the glorious sound of a soul waking up.